Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Relationships. If you don't know when somebody is insulting your spouse, are you responsible for not defending their honor? Well, that's the premise for OP in this one story video. This one's from user NoHonor23. Me, 31 male, with my wife, 29 female, married 1.5 years. Wife is mad at me for not defending her honor. I am at a loss here. We've been married just under 2 years and we have been together for a little over 3 years. Our mutual friend set us up on a date and we've been together since. We have vastly different backgrounds and honestly, we are even different over some values. Nothing huge or anything that makes me think differently of her, but they are there. I have had a couple of previous girlfriends that lasted for a good length of time each, and I had dated a few other girls over the years, but nothing ever came of them. She, on the other hand, was wild, her words, not mine, and had a very vast, intimate life. Now, before you think this is another of those posts where the guy can't get over his wife's past, let me put an end to that. I knew about it before we got married, and I understood that we were just different about that. It's not a big deal so long as it was in the past. The only time it ever became an issue was when I found out that the guy who set us up, our mutual friend, was a previous lover of hers. That made me feel weird for some reason, but that was all it was, and I never said a word to her about it. Well, anyway, this past weekend we attended a party that was held by one of her friends, and while we were there, the alcohol was flowing freely, which usually is never a good thing. And a group of guys were talking about how macho they were because they had bedded so many women and doing the usual BS. Then two of them start talking about this one woman that they did within an hour of each other, and they start talking about how she was there that night and were betting they could get her to do both of them at the same time. It was at this time that another guy, who was also a friend of mine, recognized that it was my wife these two were talking about, and he jumped in trying to change the conversation. However, I figured it out and just decided the best thing to do was to walk away. Obviously, after I left, my friend told them that I was the husband and well, the both snickered at that and then the group broke up. I go get a drink and figure I will just hang out somewhere quiet till she's ready to leave. I see her sitting with a group of her female friends and she seems to be having a good time. So I find a TV and plop down to watch whatever was on. About a half an hour later, she comes to me and tells me she is ready to go. And I could tell by her voice that she was angry. As we drive home, she doesn't say a word. I asked her if she had a good time, and she just glared at me. When we get to the house, she erupts in anger at me. Our friend went and told her what was said and that I walked away. She was angry at me for letting them say these things about her. She was angry because I let them humiliate her, and she was angry because I wasn't angry. Talking with her at that point was going to do no good as she was just livid. I just told her we could talk when she calmed down. That was early Sunday morning and she is refusing to talk to me now at all, other than to tell me what time she would be home from work or some issues regarding our car. I plan on talking to her tonight when she gets home, but I'm not sure what to say or where to go with this. I mean, maybe I was wrong for walking away, but I just didn't think challenging two guys to a fight at a party was the smartest thing to do. I would have made a scene and it would have been nothing but drama, so I thought just removing myself was the best option. I guess I was wrong there, or was I? I didn't even know what they were talking about until my friend made it obvious he was trying to change the subject. What should have I said or done? For that matter, why am I at fault here? Hell, I'm the one who had to hear about how these two shared my wife, before she was my wife, like she was a party favor, so it wasn't all fun and games for me either. I knew about her past and could live with it, but it's another thing to be smacked in the face with it. Any advice would be appreciated here. Well, OP, that is a difficult position to be in. I mean, you had no idea they were talking about your wife until your friend tried to change the subject. Now, if that would have been me, I'd like to think that once I caught on that they were talking about my wife, I would have cut in and said, "Hi, I'm John Doe, I'm so-and-so's husband." Maybe that would have been enough to get them to stop talking about her. But I do agree with you that starting a fight at a party that you're just a guest, that's not a good idea. But then again, that's just my opinion. What do you think would have been OP's best course of action? So now, let's take a look at a few community comments and then we're gonna move on with all the updates. Joker Lowell says, she can't want a guy who simultaneously accepts her past and doesn't consider it an issue, and a guy who will attack other people for talking about sleeping with her that actually happened. If you knew they were lying, then sure, you would have said something. But from the sounds of things, they weren't anyway. Wombatzilla says, I don't know why you were supposed to say anything. Is she ashamed of her past? Should you be ashamed of her past? Why would trying to defend her change anything? I don't think she should be flusy shamed or anything like that, but there's also no point in pretending that her past never happened. Obviously, they shouldn't have been talking about trying to get lucky with her that night, but like you said, picking a fight at a party with some drunk guys isn't the best idea. I just don't get what she thinks you should have even said. Voice of Duh says, what an overreaction on her part. It would be one thing if they said her name or if it didn't happen, but I'm guessing due to her reaction, it did. Actions have consequences. Your wife slept with two jerks who are shockingly still jerks. She should be mad at them and herself for sleeping with them. She had no honor to lose in this situation, she shouldn't take it out on you. Okay, so now let's move on with the first update. Things did not go well, and now roles are reversed. First of all, I tried to talk to her that night when she got home from work. She was late, but that is not a big deal. I knew she was going to be late. Normally, she will come in and grab her food and come sit in the living room with me to watch TV or something while she eats her dinner. But instead, she walked in, grabbed her food, and walked straight back to the computer room without saying a word to me. I let it slide, figuring, okay, another night to cool off. She at least said goodnight to me, but that was it. Thursday was just very hectic for both of us and her family was over. Pre-scheduled, so it wasn't a surprise for me. But after they left, she went immediately to bed. By Friday, I had had enough. I got home after work, I work late on Fridays, and sure enough, she was already secluded in the computer room. I walked in and asked if we could talk, and she gave me a disgusted look and said, "What's there to talk about?" And that is when I said I wanted to talk about the party and the fallout from it. I then walked back into the living room thinking she was going to follow me, and I sat down only to find myself sitting there for several minutes, all by myself. I was getting angry by this time and marched in there and said I wanted to either talk about this or do something else, but I was not going to go on living like this. She finally gets up and comes out, then sits there. I first off try to say that I was sorry for my actions, or lack thereof in this case, and that I really wanted her to tell me how she would have liked me to handle it and what should I do if I ever have to deal with something like this again. First, she informs me that there won't be another chance to do this again, as she won't be attending any more parties of her friends because she doesn't feel like she can show her face. I ask her why is she embarrassed to go. This is where things went from bad to worse. I'm expecting to have to give her the "you don't have to apologize for your past" speech, thinking that she was embarrassed by the two guys talking about her. But no, instead, this is what she tells me. She was not embarrassed to go. She was embarrassed for me to go with her. I came across as less of a man, and she was ashamed of the way I acted in that situation. At first, I was stunned. I just sat there. But then all I could sputter out was, "What should have I done?" She literally wanted me to fight these guys. I mean, actual fist fight. I'll let you in on a secret. I've never been in a fight in my life. I've either been able to talk it out or avoid the situations. I don't know if I could have fought either one of these guys to a standstill, let alone 2-on-1. I sat there in stunned silence for a good while. Then I asked how that would have helped anything at all, and she said it would have proven that I cared enough about her to stand up for her. I tried to explain that I had no idea who they were talking about for the entire time until the very end, and they were talking about several women, not just her. I said that I didn't want to make a scene at her friend's party and thought that it would have made us look bad if I wanted to fight her friends. This rolled off her like water off a duck. So then I said the one thing I probably shouldn't have said, but in retrospect, I'd probably say it again. I just asked, why the hell should I have been wanting to beat down on somebody if what they were saying was true? They didn't know she was married when they said that they thought she would still do it, and at the time, I didn't even know who they were talking about. This is when she goes off on me, saying she knew her past was going to be used against her. I said I sure as hell wasn't going to use it, wasn't using it now, and if she didn't want me to break the law and fight someone, I wouldn't even be talking about it now. She got angry, but by this time, I was angry myself. I felt like I was put in a no-win situation, and that she didn't care enough about me to care about whether or not I would get hurt or arrested over something that I didn't care about. She could tell at this point I was angry as well, so we both agreed to just leave it sit for a few days. The weekend wasn't much better, and honestly, I think both of us are reevaluating our relationship. Could I have or should I have said something to the guys? Maybe. I still am not sure about it. I don't know what I would have said without it becoming a big deal. But I really truly am upset that she was so upset about it that she doesn't want me around her friends and she didn't care about my physical well-being. So the fact that you didn't get angry when you found out they were talking about her and started punching people makes her feel ashamed of being with you around her friends? Now, of course, how those two jerks were talking about your wife was not cool at all. However, they weren't spreading lies. She did do those things. Maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like she is kind of embarrassed about her past, and in this situation, she wanted you to do something about it. But not just anything. She wanted you to physically fight them. And because you didn't do that, she now sees you as less of a man and is ashamed of you? Did I get that right? What do you guys think about this? Okay, now let's move on with the second update. I have made repeated attempts to talk with her, offered and suggested that we should go to counseling together, and in the end, it has all fallen on deaf ears. I'm not going to live like this. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have said something or done something or anything, but in the end, I didn't. I thought I was doing the right thing. But apparently, I was being a coward in her mind, and she sees me as less of a man for it. Well, sadly, this whole episode has now made me see her in a whole new light as well. She honestly would have rather I ended up in jail, the hospital, or dead, as opposed to what I did. I will not spend the rest of my life with someone who doesn't think I'm man enough because I didn't confront two of her previous ex-intimate partners, or worse, in my opinion, doesn't give a real crap one way or the other about my well-being. I know she feels the same way from her point of view. I feel bad because I never wanted to be that guy who was divorced, but honestly, this is a breaking point for both of us. I'm already staying at my parents' till we decide how to split stuff up. Thank God we never had children. Editing in some info. Obviously, my inbox has blown up over this, so there is just no way I can answer everyone individually. So I'm going to throw out some info here to kind of help set the record straight. 1. No, she has never demanded anything before that was unreasonable. She has a hot temper, but up until now has never not been able to get over something and move on. 2. No, I had no idea that she had slept with two guys within an hour of each other. She told me she had a wild past, asked me if I wanted details, and I declined. My only stipulation about it was that it had to be in the past, as in the moment she and I became exclusive, it could never happen outside of us again. 3. I wouldn't say she was ashamed of her past, but has said that she was trying to be a different and, in her words, better person as she got older. 4. No, I was not involved in the conversation. No, I did not know anyone there that night other than my wife and 2 mutual friends, one of which was in that conversation. 5. No, I never factually knew they were talking about her. I made an assumption that it was her when our friend awkwardly jumped in trying to change the conversation. I did not know for a fact it was her until she came storming at me. And 6. No, I don't blame the guy for telling my wife. In my opinion, he wasn't tattling, so to speak. I think he was trying to give her a heads up, believe it or not, for my benefit. I think he was worried that I was going to be mad at her. Okay, so they're getting divorced. I would say in this case, it's maybe for the best. Apparently they're at an impasse and they don't see each other in the same light anymore. Well, if you guys want to figure out what happened after the divorce, then stick around, because that's coming now with the final update. I had said before that my last post was going to be the final update, but I thought I would put out a quick amended update. Divorce in my state was actually painless, easy, and quick. Neither of us contested anything, and what assets we had were easy to divide up, and no children, so it was literally just some paperwork. Why the update though? Well, not that it mattered to me, but just as I suspected, as soon as we separated, she went right back to her old wild ways and has been through probably as many men in the past 3 months as she did before we got together. However, I got a call from her father begging me to reconsider as he felt his daughter was spiraling out of control. I really like him and told him I felt bad for what happened, but after I explained our argument and my stance on how she didn't care about me or my safety, he understood. I agreed with him that she probably is having some kind of mental breakdown, but as of this past week, officially, it is no longer my problem. By the way, what I didn't tell him was the very vulgar and insulting text messages she sent me. The photos of her with other guys she sent me. I just figure, why make an issue of it? Now, after all of this, can you believe last night she had the gall to show up on my door to my new apartment crying about having lost me and how bad things are for her and how nobody loved her, blah blah blah. All she would have had to do was, right after the argument we had, was say any of these things, and I would have stuck it out and tried my best to move forward with her. But between that argument and knowing she has slept with half the town again in the past 3 months, I just have nothing left for her. I told her that I was sorry it didn't work out, but we are now officially divorced and she just needs to move on. The waterworks started flowing, and I actually believe she was having something mentally wrong with her because she was almost hysterical. I called her dad to come get her and walked her to his car. I told him what happened, and I think he was actually going to try to take her to get a mental evaluation at the ER. I harbor no hatred for her. I hope she gets help, but we are over and we both have to move on. Well, OP, you did what was right. You needed to move on. And unfortunately, I do believe there's something wrong with her. She's definitely using intimacy as a tool of some sort to cope with something from her past. I have no idea. To be honest, that's the only way I, a non-mental health professional, can explain her behavior of going back to sleeping around with everybody right after your divorce. Now, I could be absolutely wrong with that, so if anybody disagrees, just let me know in the comment section. In any case, like you say, it's no longer your problem. It's not your responsibility, you're moving on and you're focusing on yourself. Good for you. Let's hope your ex does get the help that she needs in order to be able to move on with her life. I have to say, it's funny how some things just explode. I mean, this whole thing started because OP didn't fight 2 guys that were talking about his wife without him knowing it was his wife. One thing led to another, divorce. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And so we've reached the end of the video. I truly hope you guys liked it. If you did, go ahead and click like. Of course, don't forget to subscribe and click that bell icon so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Also, here are more videos from my channel that you might enjoy. And having said all that, I will see you guys on the next video.